We're
We are
live.
live. We are live. Welcome to Coach's Corner with Mr. Wyatt Gilmour. How are you doing today, Wyatt?
Doing great, man. I'm with the sun. I'm with the tree up that way. And I'm with a
Showing us
cowboy.
with the cowboy. I got my cowboy hat on again. Can't do Coach's Corner without the cowboy hat. It's a new rule I established. So today, as always, we're going to go over some health and fitness, let's say tricks, tips, some thoughts that you can apply to your life. And today we're specifically going to be going over boundaries or standards, really standards, setting standards for yourself. Okay. So Wyatt, tell us about standards.
All right. So with standards in relation to things that are important to us and things close to home, it's kind of like so with your fitness, right? With stuff you go and do, especially in the beginning, you don't know the standard you're sitting in. So now negative emotion is going to be kicking pretty hard at first. I got a plane. It might be messing up my audio. We got a plane. Man the gunner.
Yeah.
Shoot it down. We're on attack. They don't want you to know this stuff.
Screw the plane. It's all right. I think I can hear you. I can still hear you good.
So in the beginning, right, the negative emotion starting habits.
It kind of sounds like you're in like the army, you know what I mean? And like you're like giving the team a pep talk and there's planes going overhead.
That's right. The cyborg team out there on their phones out in nature. That's where you got to get your phone and go outside in nature, and then you're good to go. All right. So now that we're settled, all right, dig your foxhole and get with me. All right, keep warm. Come on. So it's like even war is a good example. All these difficult things, the standards that are developed in like the body with training, right? Like you don't hear about the Army not having a protocol to start somebody in on.
Right.
Every time you start a new thing, there's a protocol, and there's a level of acceptance of you not hitting the mark. But then when anybody goes to the gym, we think we got to be perfect right out the gate, and we say fitness isn't for us, or we say diet isn't for us, and we just can't fail, and you can't learn along the way.
Right.
Like there's a lot of problems with that, so we're clearing them up. You toss out your beginners on that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting, right? With even like the Army example, like there's a standard, like you said, there's like the initial, I guess, testing you have to go through, or like boot camp. But then there's a standard that is set. It's like everyone's expected to meet this certain standard, right? And we're talking about like Army soldiers right now, so that's not necessarily relating to like just the average person. But there's a standard that the Army expects of the soldier, and maybe at some point the soldier expects of themselves, because they know they have to be a certain level of fit to perform under circumstances they're going to be in war. So I think standards, like to the average person, is like, what are my standards of my own health, my own fitness, and whatever that may be. And what I've come to realize, and what I've seen a lot with clients, is like it changes a lot over time, and it may not be necessarily conscious. It's more like, let's say that they played sports a lot when they were younger, maybe even into like college. They were just fit, always working out, and then responsibilities start stacking up. Maybe they get into a serious relationship, have a family, start getting progressively more responsibility at work, like move up in their career, for example. So it just kind of gets pushed to the wayside, where it's like, and then they, you take a step back and look, and it's like, oh yeah, my standards of my health, my fitness, how fit I am, that standard that I used to have really faded over time.
I want to throw this out there. So like a low standard is easier to accept because you don't want to do the work to get there. You want the result.
Yeah.
And it's not even that you're afraid of the work necessarily, but you don't give you enough, like the habit of giving yourself credit isn't there for just the small wins. Like, anybody that talks to us is we help you harp on building up small wins and seeing the value of your effort.
Yeah.
And like, even just saying that, I like, you know what I mean? I felt it because I was thinking of some conversations that hit home with some guys this week, and it boosts you up when you're having that, because it's helping you too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seeing the personal trainers out there that are posting their body a lot is good, because you got to show where you're getting, because you can relate to everybody along the way too. But if you're in a group of people that are way on the outside of that, they just think you're there forever, and it never was hard. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you talk to Maddie, you talk to me, and we'll tell you how it sucked. And and anything you think we have, we only are hanging on by a thread. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good point. Yeah, it's definitely built up over time. And like you said, like the low standards is what's easiest. And I think why you may get stuck in having low standards is because, like, let's say for that example, like life gets really busy and you have a lot of stuff going on. That high standard that you may want, that you see yourself achieving or striving for, may become overwhelming to strive for it, where it's like, I gotta change everything I eat. I gotta lose 40 pounds. I gotta go on a diet. I gotta do all this stuff. I gotta change like all these things about my life. And I really don't have that much time or effort or motivation to do it. So it becomes overwhelming. So I think that's a really good point of what you said, is like, it's easier to stay in the low standard because to start, and that's probably the biggest mistake, is like we're talking about standards, is like trying to set the standard too high on day one or week one or month one, our first 6 month of the process. It's like you can't set your standard at 10 when you're running at 1. And those numbers are just your own personal standard.
It was funny too. You said this almost on accident, but you could say it's on purpose too. You said at the start of this, you said we're going over boundaries, and then you switch it to standards. But
Yeah.
boundaries begin to be the crossroads too, because like, are you going to draw a line in the sand, or are you going to accept what isn't working? Because
Yeah.
everybody at some point, like, if your habits start to decline your health, you're gonna scrap to live. You're gonna go to the doctor all of a sudden. You're gonna start talking with us, talking with whoever's close to you that is resourceful in that way, and you're gonna get something. Like, if you got a cut, you're not gonna just leave it bleeding. You're gonna put a band-aid on there. But like, it was almost too like, you needed to get if you didn't get scraped, you don't need the band-aid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, it's like, how did you get cut?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you paying attention before that happened, or was it absolutely just arbitrary? Just, hey, you got cut, because that happens too. Like, that's the thing of like, a marathoner, super healthy, really dialed in, focused athlete, gets cancer. It's like, in what world? It happens. You can't control that.
Yeah. I just sort of thought I seen someone online just said this phrase, and it really stuck with me. I think it's true. It's like, people only change when the thought of not changing is too painful. So it's like that whole thing of like hitting rock bottom before you finally decide to start making a change. When things are going okay, and I think it's kind of what we touched on so far, when things are going okay and you're kind of fine and everything's good, like everything good being like you're getting away with it, and the fact like, I want to change it, but do I really want to change it? You know what I mean? It's like everything's kind of cool. You know, like my life's fine. It's something I would like to change, right? But then what I've seen, I'm sure you've seen with clients, is like when you start to open up, maybe they do reach that rock bottom, like I can't take this anymore, or it's just kind of like they want to make a change and they start talking about it, they start opening up, but it's like, oh, this is actually, you know, it's like taking off the band-aid a bit and being like, there's actually like a deep, you know, this really affects me. And when I opened it up, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of going down this road of like, I might end up getting sick. Like I'm starting to get like health issues, or I just feel like I don't have energy. And like, you know, if I look down the road a bit, I don't like where this road's going.
You too. It's funny. I started stretching a lot recently, and I get like tight in the back and stuff, and I know some stuff to do for that. And so I just started doing what I knew. As soon as I felt the tightness, or like, you know, I'm like, oh, I really got to adjust here. What do I got to do? I just started trusting my gut again.
Right.
The other thing with that is that sometimes you're just going to have to kind of follow along and be weak at the start. You're going to start with a not so great foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing that it's not so great, you actually know what to do. You just have to aim low. You have to set the bar low consciously. Just be like, it's not going to be great at the start. And you know, good, like if you were going to talk to a local trainer in your area, I would say find somebody who's like pretty comfortable with you starting at this low point. Because if they're not honest with where you really are, it's not worth keeping going. Like I've gone to you know, around sports, most guys I feel like have been around guys that made them overreach for where they were at. In the weight room particularly, I think a lot of guys have that. Like you're doing squats and deadlifts with guys they've been in the gym a little more than you or something. And so they're progressing you quick, which might give you some benefit in the short term, but over time, maybe not so much. And then in your psyche too, like maybe you're comparing yourself to a standard that isn't yours yet.
Yeah. And you can hurt yourself. I hurt myself. I think I was 20. I was playing college football and I hurt my neck. So I had to take some time off, and then I go to like the off-season training, and it's already like 2-3 months in, and there's a lot of things I didn't really know yet. I mean, I was just going to school to learn how to do all this stuff, like lift correctly and all that stuff. I haven't really learned a lot of it, and they did that in the beginning of off-season training. There was a person leading it and all this stuff, so they built up. So I jump in 3 months in, and like there's guys that have been lifting for years. I mean, there's like, you know, guys that have been lifting for 5 years at that point, like big football players. So there's guys in there squatting 300-400 pounds, bench pressing a lot of weight and deadlifting off the floor, all this stuff. And so I go in, I start deadlifting. It's fine. I'm pretty light, it's whatever. And then we start squatting, and I'm just like, everybody's fired up. You know, it's just like a pit of testosterone. You know, it's like 30 guys. Everyone's like yelling at each other to listen to music, all this stuff. And you just like, I'm coming off an injury as well. So I'm like excited to do something again with the team and like put some effort in. So I like put way too much weight on the bar. And I didn't really know, and just being honest, I didn't really know how to squat correctly, how to brace my core, how to protect my spine, how to like really the proper form. And I put like close to 400 pounds on. I could lift it. I did it. My back like just bowed at the bottom. Like it just kind of like no stability. It went like this, put it back on, and I injured my back. Pinched nerve. And something I had to work on and work through. But I think that's an example. Of course, that's, you know, specific to that situation, but that's the sort of example of how you can try to do too much at once, end up backfiring. Right.
Yeah. And that's where going in, it's test the water, like share some of your background. Like if you're not clear on your standard, assume it should be low. Anybody that tries to push you over the edge, it's like, don't put out your hand in full trust, and don't compare to like whatever standards they want you to put in.
Yeah.
Hold your ground at that you're a novice. It's cool to be a novice, and people got to own that. Like it's great. I get excited when I have a beginner about whatever I'm working on with. It's like you get to introduce them to a brand new thing. It's a fun experience, and a lot of people can screw that up for you, unfortunately. But it's also, life is like the cycle of remembering and forgetting, so it helps you somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's nothing trivial in life. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. For longevity as well, if you're pushed to the edge of what you're capable of or over the edge, day one, there's a good chance you're not coming back for day two. If you start to look at it like that, it's like, okay, what could I do today that I can do tomorrow? Or what could I do today? I can do 2 times this week, 3 times this week, and then I can do it again next week. It's like you start looking at like long term. It's like, yeah, I don't have to work out 2 hours today. I could work out 15 minutes, but the main point is doing it consistently over time, because that's actually what's going to get results long term, and even in the short term, because what it is consistency.
Yeah, it's prepping, right? We both have done little things, sharing about journaling and stuff, but it's like, write down what you're gonna do and do what you say you're gonna do. That's
Mm-hmm.
a great strength training exercise, because anything you put down, you're lifting the weights of your internal struggle. you know, it's like, I said this and I know I have to do it, and all these reasons came up. Good.
Yeah.
Get good at listening and tell them to shut up, and get pissed at them and use it.
Yeah, for discipline, it's great, right? Because there's going to be, especially in the beginning, maybe you do pick something you enjoy. Maybe it's just tolerable. I would maybe suggest like, what's tolerable? What do you half enjoy? What's tolerable? What can you tolerate? 15, 20 minutes of this, 20 minutes of that, whatever. Whether that's like lifting some weights, like how to do, going for a walk. I had a client that like his thing was like dancing one time. Like, I'm gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
I really like dancing. I'm like, well, you want to start there? He's like, yeah. And he did like 20 minutes of dancing. He's like, and he came back like the next week. He's like, I did like 45 minutes of dancing. I had so much fun, most fun I've ever had in a long time. It's like, you're exercising, right? And that was the start of being consistent with exercise.
Dude, I don't think there's a workout that I don't dance in a little bit.
Yeah, you got to dance, right?
And then I think this is the other thing. If it's easy, it's easy not to do, even though it's fun. That doesn't follow you through with it, and that's why that internal struggle, that internal voice of saying, "Well, I'm busy," and all these things. Fight that at all costs. It'll ruin you.
Yeah. So the discipline of showing up because you're inevitably not going to feel like doing it, and there's going to be a million reasons. And I remember that vividly. Like, I've even though I've been a trainer for a long time and been active a lot, played sports and stuff, there was times where I was inconsistent, and especially after I had some injuries. Some of them I just mentioned. I had some health issues. I remember even just 2 years ago, there was a spurt where I was like coming off those things, didn't exercise consistently in a while, and I was getting back into it. I remember that feeling vividly, where it's like, fuck, I gotta work out today. And then I'm like doing it tomorrow. It's like, and then it's like this thing where you're on the fence. I'm like, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? And you're finding like 75 different reasons, like for you to, not today. It's like, but then when you do it, especially if it's not anything crazy to start, like 15, 20 minutes, it's over. And it's like, oh, okay, moving on. Right. But I remember that feeling, and overcoming that feeling is just overcoming resistance to discipline, or overcoming yourself.
Yeah, the resistance to discipline.
Yeah. And that relates to other things. And the funny thing is like oftentimes what I've seen is oftentimes maybe people will have discipline in other areas of their life, so it's not like they're not disciplined in other areas of their life, or they might have had somewhat of these lessons in other areas of their life, but it's just about applying it to your health and your fitness, right? Because it's kind of like the thing that can, I find it's the thing that can go to, it can kind of be like the last on the list, and the question would be, is that the thing that you want to be in the last on the list?
Yeah, everything else has a priority over you, and you create everything that happens to you. Mm-hmm. Going to work and prioritizing work is all well and good, but dude, you do that work. Like, take care of your home base. You can't go there without bringing this with you. No matter, you can't get lost up here.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that seems like a good place to end it today. We're at 20 minutes. I think this was good chat.
The acorn becomes the oak tree.
That's it. The acorn becomes the oak tree. Matty Bird Coaching. This is Wyatt Gilmour from Working Man Fitness. And we'll see you guys next Friday.